Welcome to the Hunt Fish Travel Podcast. When she's not tiptoeing across 10 inches of hard water searching for the perfect place to ice fish, she's helping you navigate your trip of a lifetime. And now, here's your hostess, Carrie Zilka.
Welcome to the Hunt Fish Travel Podcast. I am your hostess, Carrie Z. We're back again. It's almost the new year, and we are talking about early ice, late ice fishing, because you know I love ice fishing. We're on the line with Andrew Gauthier, owner of Gauthier's Fishing Guide Service. And we are going to be talking about two different locations here in Wisconsin. We're going to talk about Minoqua, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Green Bay. So, Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Carrie.
Appreciate you taking the time to come on. We'll tell them the funny story another time. I'm so embarrassed still about that. But for the listeners, yeah, I totally got my PTO days mixed up and was like, yeah, let's go ice fishing. Oh, shit. No, let's not, because I actually have to work. So, well, why don't you tell them a little bit about your guide service and how you got involved in that?
Yeah, so last year I went on my own, been guiding for 10 plus years with other guides. I started when I was 13 years old with Hosh Guide Service out of Wisconsin, doing salmon and trout guiding. I was the first mate, and then went to the Green Bay side of things and started ice guiding with a couple of the businesses out there. And then it just really sprung on me that I have a passion to help people learn how to catch fish and be able to work with other people.
Nice.
It's been a very pleasurable time being able to share the knowledge that I have, whether it's inland lakes, Bay of Green Bay, Lake Michigan, anything that involves fishing. I've been to supply my knowledge and help others catch more fish.
You know, I know there's a lot of people out there that don't use guides, that they go do the DIY style stuff. And there's also a lot of people who do. And I do, because I work 900,000 hours and I, host 4 shows. So a lot of times, you know what they always say? They say if you don't actually want to hunt and fish, then have an outdoor career. So I appreciate people with your experience and the knowledge that you have, because there's no way, I just don't feel like I'm a good enough fisherman that I could go to Lake Minoqua and just be like, oh, well, I'll fish here and I'll catch a bunch of fish. And especially something like crappies, which are very finicky to begin with. Mm-hmm. So do you have a lot of people from Wisconsin, or are they generally people from other states that take advantage of your guide service?
Yeah, so I've been expanding more out of state lately this year, trying to get other people to come visit the northern Wisconsin, Minoqua, Eagle River area. And a lot of the states right now don't have ice, so why not reach out to those states and say, hey, we're on good ice, and come on up and we'll get you on some good numbers and quality fish. And a lot of people have been coming, Indiana, Iowa,
nice,
Illinois, southern Wisconsin.
The ice this year has been a little finicky. Well, Mother Nature has been a little bit on the finicky side, even all the way as far north as like Lake of the Woods, and some of the Canadian provinces have been reporting where it's usually thicker than it is this year. So, as we're doing this interview on December 27th, how thick is the ice up by you in the Minoqua area?
This past Saturday, we had ice reports on the lakes that I fish, anywhere from 6 to 8 inches. And then we had some incredible warm weather with rain mix come in over Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And a lot of the shorelines right now are breaking up incredibly large. So right now the shorelines are making it tough for anglers to get out. The main ice, I was up yesterday checking it, and there was anywhere from 4 to 7 inches, depending on the lake and what kind of structure it is. So right now we are advising people to hold off. We've got a big cold front coming in this weekend into next week. Should be in the low teens, upper to low 20s during the day, which will help firm up that ice up there. A lot of the larger lakes are still wide open. Those are the lakes that are, 70 feet down to 50 feet deep. And you just got to be real cautious right now and have common sense on what to expect, whether it's good, bad, or the ugly. Make sure you're bringing your spikes, your picks. You always using a spud bar, checking the ice depth every few 10 feet usually is what I always check it. But I'm always spudding out and checking the ice thickness every 10 feet, so I know if there's a problem.
What do you do if you come in, so do you just, if it is, I guess then I've never had that happen before because I'm too chicken to go out until it's like really thick. So what do you do if your spud does, so actually let's back up a little bit. For the listeners who don't know what a spud bar is and how to use it, can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so a spud bar is about 4.5 feet long. It's got a chisel point at the end. So what you do is when you're walking out, you just keep poking the ice with the bottom, and it's chipping through the ice. And generally speaking, if you spud and it goes right through, it's usually less than 1.5 inches thick. So you want to back off, give it time to thicken up the ice. Generally speaking, with 3 to 5 hits, there's usually 2 to 3 inches, somewhere in that range. And anything over that, it's usually 4 inches or thicker.
So does it affect like the ice thickness when it's really cold and then it gets really warm and then it's really cold and then it's really warm? What does that do to the ice up there?
Yeah, so when it gets real cold, obviously it'll stiffen up that ice, but when it gets real warm and you add rain to the top of it, it really deteriorates that ice and sort of makes it weak. And then when it freezes again, it makes it stronger, but it doesn't make it as strong as it was when it first made that first layer of ice. So it'll be strong, but it won't be as strong as when it first froze over.
Gotcha. Kind of almost honeycombs it.
Yep, it honeycombs it. It hasn't got to that stage yet up here.
Yeah.
On a lot of the lakes, but some lakes it has.
Gotcha.
It just depends on the structure of the lake and how warm it actually gets.
And with your guiding up in the Minoqua area, do you specifically target Minoqua Lake or some of the other lakes around there as well?
I don't just target Minoqua Lake chain.
Okay.
I target plenty of lakes up to here. I've grown up here and have learned a lot of lakes on my own, and I come up quite a bit in the summer and fall and spring and fish new lakes to better my education. So it's not just hey, I'm going to go up and fish, one lake today and only fish that one lake. I'm going to fish as many lakes as I can fit in a day's time to familiarize myself. And I always will put coordinates on my Navionics app on my phone to go back and hit either early ice or late ice for the crappies and bluegills and perch up here and scout it out before I take my clients there.
That's pretty cool. And so do you primarily just focus on the crappies and the bluegills and the perch, more of the panfish family, rather than going after like lake trout or walleyes or whatever? Because everybody pretty much goes after walleyes. So
yeah, there's a real big demand for guides that target panfish primarily. Yeah. A lot of guides target the walleyes, the pike, and the perch back home on Green Bay. So to offer a service that isn't provided by many guide services in the Wisconsin area is unique.
Especially if you're hiring a guide and you have children or even teenagers, targeting walleyes or especially lake trout where if you catch a steelhead, you're super excited,
Right.
rather than where you might get into a mess of crappies or perch or whatever, and the kids can actually be catching something, and then they're excited and they're having a good time. Then they can't wait to go again rather than sitting out on the ice. We've taken my boyfriend's kids out with other guides, and, the whole day we caught one fish, and it was before they even got there. So I think that going with a guide that specifically does target more of a panfish species is pretty smart, especially not even just kids, but even, if you have friends who don't ice fish a lot or have never been before, you want them to have more fun rather than catch a trophy lake trout through the ice or something,
Right.
So,
Yep.
well, let's transition over into the Bay of Green Bay a bit. I know you do guiding up there. What sort of species do you target up there?
Yeah, so I only guide on Green Bay in the winter months for walleyes, perch, and pike.
Okay, really?
Yep.
Do you have a lot of people who call you up and say, I just want to catch northerns all day?
Very rare. Very rare.
I was like, do people
Green
do that?
Bay is known for their perch and their walleye fisher.
So the Bay of Green Bay is really big. Where do you walk out, or do you have snowmobiles, or give me the rundown on the operation?
Yeah, so right now we're just waiting for the ice, waiting on cold weather.
Mm-hmm.
Once the cold weather hits, I don't take anyone out on less than 4 to 5 inches, and it's got to be a consistent 4 to 5 inches, and that's walking out. That's what we call our early ice walkout trips. And then once we have enough ice, I have a crew cab side by side that I have transportation for my customers.
Nice.
And basically, when I get to the landing, my customers will load up their gear, whatever they have to eat, drink, warm clothes. We'll bring whatever they want out. We get them all set up in the heated otter shacks, show them all the techniques for catching perch and walleyes.
Everybody always goes for a whitefish on Bay of Green Bay, I feel like. Well, I mean, lots of walleyes too, but I've only gone for whitefish out there, and that was very fun. I don't think I've ever gone for walleye that I can think of. No, I think it's only ever been whitefish.
A lot of people guide for whitefish. I do not. I used to guide for whitefish up in Sturgeon Bay.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to offer a different service that not many guide services offer, so I went the perch direction. A lot of people want to catch the jumbo perch on Green Bay.
Yeah, for sure. I guess, yeah, I literally, when you think of Bay of Green Bay, you either think of monster walleyes or you think of, whitefish when it comes to ice fishing, so that's pretty smart. What are you using out there? Just out of curiosity, are you using live bait or are you using spinners or?
On our tip downs and tip ups, we're using live bait, minnows, either emerald shiners or rosy reds or fatheads for the perch.
Okay.
And then our tip ups for walleyes will run sucker minnows, medium suckers.
Do you guide in the summer as well?
I do inland lakes up in Minoqua.
So I have the boat in the garage, and I'm like, oh, it's been so nice. Maybe I should drag it out. But it's freaking the end of December.
Right.
What?
I was actually thinking about taking the boat out this weekend, actually, and going to try some new areas before it freezes and see if there's any perch in those areas. This fall, that's what I do in the fall is I'll go take the boat out and go to areas that you don't see many people at and just try. And I'll bounce around for a half day at one spot or one area and see if there's any perch or walleyes or whatever's there that I could target for early ice or even late ice or middle if there's perch there. I'd rather get away from the crowds and be on a bite that's away from everyone. You're secluded, and it just works out a lot better being away from the bigger crowds of people up here. And
it's just so bizarre to even think that way, though. Like, oh, we should be taking out the boat. I don't know where it was, on Facebook or Lake Link or something like that, where up north they had a shack that was like slowly going through the ice or whatever. Being from southeastern Wisconsin, I don't know that I would ever think that December would be a reasonable time to put out an ice shanty, number one, like one of them big heavy ones, but much less. But I suppose up north that's probably pretty common, but it's just been so warm that this ice is just a mess.
right.
Because usually, isn't it by now? So when do you normally start? What time of the year do you normally start guiding for ice fishing up, say, North Minoqua and above or whatever it is? Is it early in December?
Last year, believe it or not, it was the week of gun season. We were already on 4 to 5 inches in Minocqua on 90% of the lakes up there. And those are your shallower lakes, less than 30 feet of water lakes. And there's a lot of them up there. And this year, it was the first week of December, the 5th of December we got out. So it's definitely 2 weeks behind this year for sure.
It's just crazy. Last year we had sub-zero. We were out of town. We were not in Wisconsin, and I had to scramble to find somebody to come and plow out our yard so that the cat sitter could get in. And this year it's completely opposite.
And when's the last time you've seen a brown Christmas?
Right? Seriously, it's been a long time, yeah.
Definitely an awkward year for a lot of things.
Well, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll get a cold snap in there. And I don't know about sturgeon spearing. Well, even last year for sturgeon spearing, we had 4 of us, and he couldn't get us out there because we didn't have snowmobiles or anything like that. And so it was already starting to get warm. Last year was kind of a weird year as well.
Right.
Hopefully we'll get some really cold weather here in January.
Year was definitely a weird year, even on the Green Bay side of things. 90% of the guides up here on Green Bay didn't even pull their shacks out on the ice last year. And the ones that did, only got a couple weeks, if that. I was able to savor it, and fish one bay that actually was protected all year. But it was definitely a grind of a year where perch and walleye fishing made the best of it. And we were able to get a lot of people out last year that didn't think they would even see ice.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this year we'll have some better, colder weather and better ice, and we can all get some use out of all this expensive gear collecting dust in the garage.
Right.
I felt so bad. Aaron's kids got me a bunch of ice fishing stuff this year. I'm like, oh, well, I hope I get to use it.
Right.
I appreciate you guys, but anyway. Well, hopefully we'll get some better weather, and hopefully we'll get more people will be able to get out. And I suppose if people do want to get a hold of you, where would they go to find out more about you?
Yeah, so you can go on my website at www.icefishwi.com or check me out on Facebook at Gauthier's Fishing Guide Service. Just give me a call at 715-540-8573.
Very cool. And I will, of course, link to all these in the show notes when I post this next Wednesday. And hopefully by then we'll have a better outlook on some colder ice. They can get a hold of you.
Yeah, we're looking at next weekend being able to go back out to the Northwoods and get back on our hot crappie bite we've been on. Bluegills also. The bluegills have been in the shallower water. Crappies are starting to make their winter transitions out to the deeper holes and school. I know last Saturday we had a trip and we started in shallow, and I told my clients, I said, hey, you guys want to do some running and gunning type fishing? And they're like, heck yeah, let's try it. So I took them out a little further out on the lake that we were on, and threw in that live scope and scanned the area and found schools of 200 plus crappies. And deep water crappie fishing up in Minoqua, it's a blast. It really is. And you know, you'll find the school, you'll drill on them, and you'll catch 5-8, and then the school will move. You'll scan the area again, and you got to drill again. We probably drilled probably close to 150, 200 holes last weekend, and it was just an absolute blast. And clients caught a lot of 10 to 15 inch crappies.
You know, I would much rather do something like that than just sit there and hope that, you know, where you drill a couple holes and you sit there for 2 hours and you're like, nothing's biting.
Right.
I am a firm believer, if they aren't biting, you got to move your butt.
This year, Carrie, I've been proudly introduced to this new bug that I've been talking to you about. They're called breaker bugs.
Mm-hmm.
We've been really crushing a lot of really nice fish on these breaker bugs this year.
I think, too, the good thing about panfish, especially bluegills or perch or anything, they're just little feeder boxes. I mean, they're just always hungry.
Right.
Always.
They might be finicky, but, you know, with those breaker bugs, them bugs are lethal. The fish will tell you what they want each day, and you will never have to buy a waxworm or a spike again. That's one thing nice about being able to test new baits, is finding what the fish want. And with those breaker bugs, they're lethal. They really put a lot of fish topside, and that's generally what I've been using 95% of the time, other than on my tip downs, I run minnows. That's
interesting. I'm on their Facebook page and just looking at some of these photos and stuff, and they're very realistic looking.
Yeah, he makes a lot of different bugs. He makes zombies. Those are probably one of my favorites, and the ants. They're little three dots on a single hook. Those are his ants. He makes some tungsten, and then creature bugs that have glow eyes. They're really good too. That's what I was actually using last weekend. And the key to fishing those breaker bugs is when you pull the knot tight, you want to make sure that knot is towards the hook, so it's sitting horizontal, and you're just pounding that bug until you see, on like your Vexlar, a fish come into it, and then you'll pause it. 9 times out of 10, that fish, he's already committed. Usually I'll pound that bug a little bit and then pause it, and they just inhale it. And 9 times out of 10, those bugs are down to their throats. They're that committed to the presentation that it's offering down in the water column to make these fish aggressive and bite.
Yeah. These are neat looking, man. These are, oh my God, glow in the dark ones. Boy, you could spend a lot of money on their website. Wow, there are a lot of really neat ones. I could spend so much money here.
They definitely work, and I'm a firm believer in what Adam has to offer the panfish fishery. He definitely has a rock solid jig / bug. Talking to Adam and everything, those bugs are unstoppable, and you'll just have to call Adam and order some yourself to test them out, and you'll be like, holy cow, why didn't I know about these a long time ago?
Right.
That's how I was. You know, last year a client of mine sent a butt kicking to me on the ice. I'm like, hey, what are you using? He's like, oh, you never heard about these? And I'm like, no. And he started showing me, and he gave me a bunch at the end of the trip, and he's like, now this is how you got to fish them. Okay. So I started using them last December, and now that's all I use. I don't buy wax worms or tip them with anything. It's just the bug And yeah, you got to change out colors to find out which color each day the fish are going to want. But once you find a color, the fish don't stop biting. You just keep pulling them up, and it's a lot of fun.
That's neat. Oh my God, pickle zombie bugs. This is hysterical. I'm going to spend way too many hours of my time, hours I'll never get back, just browsing their website. This is crazy. I will definitely link to these in the show notes, too, so that people know what the heck we're talking about. They're literally going to go on the website and be like, these are so cool looking.
It's definitely something that the fish have never seen up here, which makes them unique, and it definitely will eliminate the bait cost for people that don't like spending money on bait. And what's nice about them is the paint. The paint lasts a lot longer than a lot of your jig companies out there nowadays. I was using a bug 2 weeks ago, and one of the zombies, and I caught over 100 fish on the one, and the paint just finally started coming off after 100 fish. So that's really impressive to have a company that has a bait that can provide a paint that won't come off until 100 fish. You don't hear that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't hear that very often.
Yeah.
Adam's definitely got those bugs dialed in to be lethal and have them where the color stays on for a long time.
Very, very interesting. Well, when I put in my order, I will definitely tell them that you turn me on to them, and then they're going to be like, hey, this chick just dropped like a whole bunch of money. Thanks, man. So, all right, we are bumping up against time, so we'll wrap this up. I do so much appreciate you taking the time.
You're very welcome, and thank you for your podcast today.
I look forward to fishing with you, man. It's going to be a lot of fun when we finally get it on the books and get it all figured out.
We'll definitely be seeing you, February 3rd, you said?
Yep, that's the date I have blocked off.
And you're bringing some friends.
Yes, definitely. At least one so far, so yeah. So we, hold on a second here. Yeah, anybody listening to the podcast want to go fishing February 3rd in Wisconsin? I'm sure we'll have some good times, some shenanigans. We'll do a podcast from the ice. Yep. Yep, exactly. Totally. It's going to be a blast.
Yep.
All right. Well, again, I appreciate you coming on the show. I'll link to all the stuff in the show notes when it goes next week, and I will let you get back to your evening.
All right. Sounds good. Have a happy new year, and we'll see you in February.